Okay, this is a walkthrough of my route rally mainline interface. So yeah, here we go. Just gonna go ahead and run it. I'm gonna make the terminal a little bit bigger so that we can all see what's going on. All right, and I can run it straight from the directory that it's in. It begins first by just greeting the user, telling them that it's using the Mountain Project API to find rock climbs in a given area, and the area is provided and defined more accurately by the user via some prompts. And also, you can exit the app at any time. So the first question is, will you be using a rope? Let's pretend I'm not using a rope, so I will be bouldering. And so for a desired location, you need to enter the lat and long of the location you're interested in. So let's just say I'm interested in, let's say Waco Tanks, which is a climbing area in El Paso, Texas. So I'm looking it up on Google Maps right now. It's a little bit out. There it is. Drop a pin. All right, so we got, I'm going to round to the nearest hundredth, 31.91 and negative 106.05. Cool. How large of an area we're interested in? Waco Tanks is probably like only a couple miles in radius, so I'll just go ahead and say 10. That'll probably cover our bases there. So this is where it asks for difficulty. If you're not super keen on the climbing grade ranges, I simplified it a little bit for the user to be between 0 and 15. And luckily, climbing grades, whether you're bouldering or not bouldering, kind of fall between 0 and 15. If you're using a rope, it's going to be scaled on what's called the Yosemite grading scale, and that starts with a 5 and a period, and then the number after that gives you more information on the difficulty. So like a 5-0 is like a ladder, and then a 5-15 is like the hardest climb in the world, really. And the same thing for bouldering. It's a V scale, like literally V. You can see on my, like a V0 is pretty easy, and then a V15 is like top notch. Like if you're using this app to find a boulder that's V15, probably know where it is. Anyway, and then just for simplicity's sake, that's how the program is going to interpret it based on whether or not you're using a rope. But just to make the prompt the same for both bouldering and rope climbing, you just have to enter a number or a range between 0 and 15. So if you're just looking for all the routes in a given area, regardless of difficulty, you can enter through it and it'll just kind of default to all of them. But let's say I'm looking for some routes between V2 and V10. How many routes would you like to see? It defaults to 50. The Mountain Project API only gives 500 maximum. So if you're going on a climbing trip, maybe you'll do 20. So look for 20 rock climbs. And then how would I like to sort it? Let's just go with name. Cool. So we got 20 rock climbs here. They all have a a certain set of attributes that I took from the Mountain Project API. Rock climbs, regardless of whether or not you're climbing with a rope, all have pitcher's attribute. For boulders, since there's not really a pitch, you're not really climbing like a sheer face or a sheer wall, you know, like big wall. So the pitcher's attribute just kind of like defaults to nil and doesn't print. So if I was like going to Waco Tanks, I want to find, let's see, a climb that started with B, I would go for Babyface to V7. I've actually climbed that rock climb. And if I was looking for somewhere further down the alphabet, I would look up warm-up roof. And then I could also tell, like, it's in Texas, obviously. It's in Waco Tanks. It's and more refined, it's on East Mountain, and it's on the warm-up roof, which is like an area on East Mountain, yada, yada, yada. So at this point, we have the option to resort. We can look up an individual ID. Let's do that first. So this, yeah, okay, sorry. This, I entered in this ID, which is from the fin up here. It's 106.969.078. Yep. And then it just like singles out that root instance and shows me all the attributes for that root. If I wanted to resort it, I enter in sort, and let's say I want to rate it by stars this time. Cool. So highest number of stars at the bottom. I might change that so that the highest number of stars ends up at the top, because if you're looking for the highest rated route somewhere, you're not going to start at the bottom of the list. So I'm probably going to reverse that in the code here after this demo. But you can see here that it is sorting them by the rating. And so it gets higher and higher as we go down. So if I was looking for some rock climbs between V2 and V10, I would be very, very tempted to go try Dragonfly. It's V5, has 4.9 stars. It's on East Mountain, so I would need a guide. That's the thing with Waco Tanks, you need guides to go to some areas. But I would probably make an effort to do that. Okay, let's just do last sort. Do rating. Let's see if it worked this time. Oh, it did. Cool. Good. And that change in the code worked. So unfortunately, none of the boulders are V10. It's interesting. It must be in the way that it gets capped from the Mountain Project. But yeah. Yeah, so Babyface is the hardest one, and then the easiest one, make sure I don't go past here. And this is only of 20 routes, so this is a very thin slice of the rock climbs in this area. This is V2, nobody gets out of here alive. Cool, I've done both of those climbs. Great. And so let's say I wanted to look for climbing routes in a completely different area. I would type again, and we start over. So let's say I am climbing with the rope this time, and I want to look for some rock climbs in Yosemite. Lots of rope rock climbs out there. So we got 37.74 for the latitude, and the longitude is 119.3. 0.56. Large of an area. Yosemite is pretty dang large, so I'll just give it a 20-mile radius. And let's say I'm just interested in like any rock climbs that are in Yosemite. I could just enter through that. How many routes would I like to see? Let's go 50. That'll give us a pretty good smattering. And then I want to rate it by, or sort it by stars. Damn. Darn. This one has straight up 5. These, a few of them have 5 stars. That is, I haven't seen that actually. So that's crazy. So these are some really cool climbs. Thing with Yosemite, since all the climbing features, all the formations are so large, they definitely have multiple pitches. So you can see this is so more than like a single route. This is like a multi-pitch route, obviously. But like multi-pitch kind of like means more than like, not only are you doing more than one pitch like back to back or like stacked on top of each other, it's like a whole different like experience. So yeah, that's a little aside. So yeah, they are sorted by rating, and there's a bunch of them. Never been to Yosemite. Definitely want to before I end up settling down. But yeah, cool. That's the application. I can go through some of the error handling. So if like I accidentally, like I wanted to go, like let's say I want to say again, but I actually put a 1 here instead, it's gonna be like, that doesn't work. Let's say I enter in the wrong ID. That doesn't work. Let's say I make it to again. I'm not climbing with a rope, but like location, since you're typing in 2 separate arguments, that's way easier to mess up. User's definitely going to end up doing that at some point. So like I want to say like, oh, like, I actually didn't check that. Oh, want to be cute and put some like, make it like 33, but it's in, you know, it's an E. And 105. That is not a valid response. So yeah, makes you enter a valid response. That's cool. Mouse. This is actually pretty close to where I live. Look for any route. I'm not sure there are going to be any routes in here. Yeah, there's one. It's done, it's done. Cool. So that's the application. Exit. Exit.